I looked around, I thought, this stuff, it's got to be illegal, but let's not take any chances.
You may have seen that earlier this week after Attorney General Tim Griffin announced a court decision allowing Arkansas to ban certain cannabis products. But some in the state aren't too happy about the upcoming ban. It's putting local shops on short notice as they've been given just a few weeks to take the product off their shelves. Tonight, Carter Thweet has reactions from the other side on how it's impacting businesses.
All started in 2023 when state lawmakers passed Act 629, banning products with substances like Delta 8 and Delta 9. Then earlier this week, federal courts allowed that law to go forward. But I spoke with one store owner today who says this could put him out of business and his products aren't dangerous.
I've been poison-free, alcohol-free for 2 years, 6 months now, and so literally these products actually saved my life.
Roger Crawford never imagined he'd own a CBD business in Hot Springs, CBD meaning cannabidiol, a substance that comes from the cannabis plant but doesn't get you high. Crawford claims his products have health benefits, and while more research is needed, there is evidence it can help with things like seizures, insomnia, and chronic pain.
We have a product that actually changes people's lives for the better.
The act that federal courts upheld last week would, according to its sponsors, ban Delta 8, a substance often found in cannabis that the FDA says is unapproved and dangerous for kids. But Crawford says the 25-page act would do more than that.
They're putting verbiage in that legislation, such as ingredients, the process of extraction and things like that, which basically deem all of my products except a few, a handful that's over here on the shelf, illegal.
One argument used by the Attorney General's office is that products like CBD gummies can be packaged in ways that are misleading to children. Crawford says it's not happening.
He made a claim that my products are killing people. Okay, where's the bodies at? Everybody has the technology. Google it. Google how many people die from alcohol every day. Google how many people die from tobacco every day. Google how many people die from gun violence every day in the state of Arkansas. We have an emergency bans on all of those? No, they're in every shopping center.
AG Griffin said in his press conference he hopes the ban will go into effect in about 8 weeks. Crawford says as soon as that happens,
I'm a criminal. I will be charged criminally for possessing something that God gave us to use. And that is sad. And it's sickening, and I'm not going out quietly.
Crawford tells me he thinks Arkansas's medical marijuana industry is at least partly responsible for laws like these, hoping to eliminate competition from stores like his.
New data shows that a growing number of older Americans are using marijuana for recreational and medical purposes. But with that comes some words of concern from medical professionals. New research published in JAMA reveals that cannabis use among people aged 65 and older surged by nearly 46% between 2021 and 2023. That's raising new questions about the potential health risks for seniors who use marijuana.
I'm always cautious, and I said, look, I want to get to the root of the problem, because as much as you might find benefit in this now, there also are a lot of risks and side effects. So if you're treating it for anxiety, guess what? It can also cause anxiety. It can also increase feelings of paranoia. It can worsen your depression. It can cause mania. It can cause psychosis, not to mention interfere with a lot of your medications. And especially with older adults, we're worried about the dizziness, the drowsiness, if there's underlying cognitive impairment. Even if there isn't, delayed reaction time when you're using marijuana is a big thing.
Among seniors who use marijuana, a University of Michigan survey found that most say it's to relax, while many list benefits including help with sleep, pain relief, as well as mental health and mood. 23-year-old Isaiah Eduardo Castaneda was arrested today after a deadly hit and run in Rogers. Police say they responded to a report of an injured person in the road on the 2100 block of 8th Street around this morning. 23-year-old Jada Curtis was found in the road with severe injuries. Despite attempts at life-saving measures, Curtis was pronounced dead at the scene. The accident is under investigation. A tech industry trade group sued Arkansas Friday over 2 new laws that would place limits on content on social media platforms and would allow parents of children who killed themselves to sue over content on the platforms. The lawsuit by NetChoice, filed in federal court in Fayetteville, comes months after a federal judge struck down a state law requiring parental consent before minors can create new social media accounts. The new laws were signed by Governor Sanders earlier this year. You can read more about this on our website, 5newsonline.com. Today, a private funeral was held for Minnesota state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. The couple, along with their family's dog, were gunned down at their home 2 weeks ago in what police are investigating as a politically motivated attack.
Mourners stood as the caskets for Melissa and Mark Hortman were brought to the church altar.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the lives of Melissa and Mark Hortman.
Former President Joe Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris were in attendance. Governor Tim Walz honored Melissa Hortman for her 2 decades of public service.
Melissa Hortman will be remembered as the most consequential speaker in Minnesota history.
A solemn procession followed, with Walz presenting the Hortman children the flags that flew over the state capitol the day their parents were killed.
She used her power to give a voice to people who didn't feel like they had a voice, and I hope that's how she's remembered.
Thousands turned out at the Minnesota Capitol on Friday, where the couple was lying in state. Next to them, their beloved dog, Gilbert. The golden retriever was severely wounded in the attack and had to be euthanized.
I'm sad and I'm angry, and I wanted to come and stand quietly for a moment and appreciate them.
The Hortmans were gunned down at their home 2 weeks ago. The suspect, Vance Belter, accused of impersonating a police officer and wearing a mask. Prosecutors say he also shot and seriously wounded Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. A manhunt for his arrest lasted 2 days. Police say Belter had a hit list of 45 elected officials, all Democrats. He made a second federal court appearance yesterday, telling the judge he hasn't slept in 14 days. His lawyer complaining lights are on around the clock and his client doesn't have a pillow.
Caroline Cummings, WCCO News.
To Capitol Hill now. Tonight, the Senate is putting in extra hours to kickstart President Trump's legislative agenda. Overnight, Republicans released their full bill containing tax and spending cuts that could impact millions of Americans. Lawmakers worked through their holiday recess, racing to meet a July 4th deadline to advance President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. The president stayed in town, too, golfing with senators, urging them to tee it up. Senate Republicans released the 900-plus page bill, which includes more funding for the president's top priorities, including border security, defense, and an extension of his 2017 tax cuts. But it comes with deep spending cuts to food assistance and Medicaid, including a projected $930 billion reduction, according to the Congressional Budget Office.
What they're trying to do to cut back on these health care programs and health insurance for 16 million Americans to pay for tax breaks for wealthy people.
Even some Republicans have threatened to oppose the package, citing concerns about the potential impact to rural hospitals. To address some GOP concerns, the bill now includes a $25 billion rural hospital fund. Democrats are hoping to slow the vote down by demanding that the entire bill be read on the Senate floor, which could take up to 15 hours. And the effects of the bill will be felt here in Arkansas, with the potential cuts to Medicaid and SNAP if it passes. Reports indicate hundreds of thousands could lose health coverage in the state, and thousands more would get dropped from SNAP.
There's no charitable program that can make up for the loss of a program like our SNAP food stamp program. That is the most effective program our nation has ever put into place to reduce hunger.
Arkansas lawmakers in support of the bill say it protects benefits for those that qualify. The Supreme Court ruled that federal judges can issue nationwide injunctions blocking presidential orders, including one on birthright citizenship. But the court left the question of citizenship for children born to non-citizen parents unresolved. The 6-3 ruling limits the ability of federal courts to block presidential orders across the country, but it does not resolve the issue of birthright citizenship. President Trump says the ruling allows his administration to advance policies previously halted by courts. However, states challenging the birthright citizenship order argue the constitutional right remains intact and expects the legal fight to continue. The ACLU commented on the recent court ruling, saying in part the court's decision to potentially open the door to enforcement is disappointing, but we'll do everything in our power to ensure no child is ever subjected to the executive order. The group goes on to say, quote, "We will vindicate the 14th Amendment's fundamental promise that ensures every child born on U.S. soil is recognized as a citizen of this country."